my wonderful learners, and welcome back to Super English Talks. I'm Sarah, and I am so excited to be here with you today for a very special episode of our English podcast series. This isn't just about learning new vocabulary or grammar. It's about something that can fundamentally change the way you learn English and, honestly, the way you approach life. Today, we're going to dive deep into a topic that has completely transformed my own journey, and that is building a growth mindset. Now, you might be thinking, what does a mindset have to do with learning English? Well, it has everything to do with it. Your mindset is the secret ingredient that determines how you handle challenges, how you react to mistakes, and ultimately, how much you grow. I've seen so many students who are incredibly smart and talented, but they get stuck because they have a fixed mindset. They believe their abilities are set in stone, that they're either good at languages or they're not. On the other hand, I've seen learners who may struggle at first, but who have a growth mindset, and they make incredible progress. They see every mistake as a learning opportunity, and they see every challenge as a chance to get stronger. So, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a growth mindset? It's a concept that was popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck in her research. She found that people generally fall into one of two mindsets, a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is the belief that our intelligence, talents, and abilities are fixed traits. If you have a fixed mindset, you might believe you are simply not a math person or not a natural English speaker. You tend to avoid challenges because if you fail, it confirms your belief that you're not good enough. You might give up easily because you think effort is pointless after all. If you have a certain amount of talent, why would you need to try so hard? You might feel threatened by the success of others because their success highlights your own perceived lack of ability, a growth mindset. On the other hand, is the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, hard work, and good strategies. It's the belief that you can get better at something even if you're not good at it right now. With a growth mindset, you embrace challenges because you know that's how you learn and grow. You persist in the face of setbacks, viewing them not as failures, but as crucial information to help you improve. You see effort as the path to mastery, and you feel inspired by the success of others, seeing it as proof that with the right approach, you can achieve great things. So, why is a growth mindset so incredibly important, especially for language learners? First, it directly impacts how you handle mistakes. Let's be honest, making mistakes is an unavoidable part of learning any language. If you have a fixed mindset, a grammar mistake or a mispronounced word can feel embarrassing and discouraging. You might think, I'm just not getting this, and want to give up. But with a growth mindset, a mistake is just a moment of feedback. You can say to yourself, okay, I used the wrong tense there. Now I know what to practice next time. It changes the emotional response from shame to curiosity. Second, it helps you embrace challenges. Learning English is full of challenges. From understanding complex grammar rules to having your first real conversation with a native speaker, a fixed mindset might tell you to avoid these challenges to protect your ego. Growth mindset, however, encourages you to lean into them. You might be nervous about speaking, but you do it anyway because you know that's the only way to get better. You see the challenge as a puzzle to solve, not a barrier to your potential. Third, a growth mindset fuels your persistence. There will be days when you feel like you're not making any progress. You'll feel stuck. A fixed mindset would say, "This is too hard. I should stop." But a growth mindset tells you to keep going. It reminds you that progress isn't always linear. You understand that the hard work you're putting in today, even if it feels invisible, is building the foundation for your future fluency. You are planting the seeds of your success, and they will eventually grow. The difference between these two mindsets is so powerful because it's not about being smart or being a natural. It's about your perspective on your own potential. It's about understanding that you are capable of learning and evolving, and that your brain is like a muscle that gets stronger with exercise. Now that's all well and good in theory, but how do we actually put this into practice? How do we build a growth mindset? It's not something that happens overnight. It's a journey, and it takes consistent effort and self-awareness. Let's talk about some practical tips you can start using today. Practical tips to adopt a growth mindset in your daily life. The first and most important step is to become a thought detective. You have to start paying attention to that little voice in your head. When you make a mistake, what does it say? So stupid. I'll never get this. Or does it say, I need to work on this? The fixed mindset voice is often judgmental and critical. The growth mindset voice is curious and solution-oriented. The next time you find yourself thinking a fixed mindset thought, stop and identify it. Recognize that it's just a thought, and it's not the truth. Once you've identified a fixed mindset thought, the next step is to add the word yet. This is a simple but incredibly powerful technique. Instead of saying, I can't understand fast English, you can say, I can't understand fast English yet. Instead of, I'm not good at public speaking, you can say, I'm not good at public speaking yet. Completely changes the energy of the sentence. It opens the door to possibility and reminds you that your current state is not your permanent state. It shifts your focus from a limitation to a future goal. Another key tip is to reframe challenges as opportunities. Let's say say you have an opportunity to give a presentation in English at work, but you're terrified. A fixed mindset sees this as a threat, a chance to look foolish. Growth mindset sees it as a challenge, an opportunity to practice your skills and build your confidence. You can reframe your internal dialogue. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," "I'm going to fail," try saying, "This will be difficult, but I'll learn so much from the experience, no matter what happens." The focus shifts from the outcome to the process of learning and growing. Next, you must embrace failure as feedback. This is a huge one. In a fixed mindset, failure is something to be avoided at all costs. But in a growth mindset, failure is just information. It's a chance to learn what didn't work and to try a different approach. Think of it like this. If you bake a cake and it doesn't turn out well, you don't say, "I'm a terrible baker and I should give up forever." You look at the recipe, you adjust the ingredients, and you try again. You use the failure to improve the next time. That's exactly how you should approach learning English. A mistake isn't a failure, it's a data point. It's a clue about what you need to focus on next. You also need to focus on effort, not talent. In a fixed mindset, a person who is naturally good at something is seen as a genius, and their effort is invisible. In a growth mindset, we celebrate the hard work. We understand that success comes from dedication and persistence. When you're learning English, instead of admiring someone who seems to be a natural speaker, focus on the effort they put in. Ask them how they practice. And when you praise yourself, praise the effort you put in, not just the results. Say, "I'm proud of myself for spending an hour practicing my listening skills today," rather than, "I'm so good at listening." This reinforces the value of hard work. Finally, celebrate the success of others and seek out mentors. Fixed mindset can make you feel jealous of others' success. Growth mindset allows you to feel inspired. When you see someone who speaks English beautifully, instead of thinking, "I could never do that," you can think, "Wow, that person's fluency is amazing. What can I learn from them?" You can ask them for advice or find a mentor who can guide you. Surrounding yourself with people who have a growth mindset will help you build your own. Their energy, their resilience, and their willingness to learn will rub off on you. Asterisk, asterisk.
How to talk about personal development in English conversations now that we've covered what a growth mindset is and how to build one. Let's get to the English practice part. It's one thing to understand these concepts and another to be able to talk about them in a natural way. Here are some useful phrases and conversational structures you can use to talk about personal development, a growth mindset, and your own learning journey in English. You might be in a conversation with a friend or a colleague and want to express that you're trying to improve at something. You could say, "I'm really trying to develop a growth mindset. I've been working on my personal development lately." I'm trying to reframe how I think about challenges. I've been trying to adopt a new perspective on failure. If you want to talk about how you view mistakes or setbacks, you can use these phrases. I'm learning to see mistakes as learning opportunities. I don't get as discouraged by setbacks anymore. I try to see them as valuable feedback. I'm trying to remember that it's all part of the learning process. When I make a mistake, I remind myself that I'm just not there yet. To describe someone who has a growth mindset, you can say, she has a great attitude toward learning. She is very resilient. They never give up. He has a real thirst for knowledge. She is always willing to step outside their comfort zone. And if you want to give advice to someone who is struggling, you could say, don't worry about getting it perfect. Just focus on making progress. Try not to be so hard on yourself. Every mistake is a step forward. It's all about patience and persistence. Just keep trying. I know you'll get the hang of it eventually. Learning these phrases and practicing them will help you not only internalize the growth mindset, concepts for yourself, but also allow you to share these ideas with others. It's a fantastic way to practice your English while also enriching your personal life. The journey to building a growth mindset is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about progress, not perfection. There will be days when you fall back into old patterns of fixed thinking, and that's okay. The key is to notice it, to not judge yourself for it, and to gently guide yourself back to a growth-oriented perspective. Case studies. Fixed versus growth mindset in English learning. To make this even more tangible, let's explore two fictional stories. I want you to imagine two people, both starting to learn English at the same time. First, we have Maria. Maria believes she is not a natural language learner. She has a fixed mindset. When she goes to her English class, she feels very nervous. Her teacher asks her to speak in front of the class, and Maria feels a knot in her stomach. She tries to say a sentence, but makes a small mistake with verb conjugation. Some of the other students in the class laugh, and Maria's face turns red. Her mind immediately thinks, "See? I'm terrible at this. I knew I couldn't do it." From that moment on, Maria avoids speaking in class. She doesn't want to feel that embarrassment again. She doesn't ask questions because she's afraid of looking stupid. She studies the grammar rules but doesn't practice speaking, so her skills never really improve. She's stuck, not because she can't learn, but because her mindset is holding her back. Now, let's look at Javier. Javier also believes learning a language is hard, but he has a growth mindset. When he goes to his English class, he's also a bit nervous, but he's also excited. When the teacher asks him to speak, he takes a deep breath and gives it a try. He makes the same verb conjugation mistake as Maria, and a couple of students giggle. But Javier's internal reaction is completely different. He smiles and thinks, "Okay, that's a mistake I need to work on." Remember that for next time, he immediately asks the teacher, "Could you please explain that rule again?" After class, he goes home and specifically practices that verb conjugation. He isn't afraid of making mistakes in future classes because he sees them as stepping stones. A key knows that every mistake is a data point that helps him get better. Avir isn't unnatural. Avir isn't unnatural from setbacks, and his persistence will eventually lead him to fluency. These two stories show us that the difference isn't in their intelligence or their natural talent. The difference is entirely in their mindset and how they chose to interpret their experiences. Detailed, actionable tips to build your growth mindset now. Let's get very practical. Let's break down those tips from our last session and add some more depth to each 1.1. Become a thought detective and use the word yet. This is where it all starts. The first step to changing your mindset is awareness. When a negative or limiting thought about your English comes up, you have to catch it. You can't change a thought you don't recognize. Actionable step: create a small notebook or a note on your phone. For 1 week, every time you have a fixed mindset thought, write it down. For example, you might write, "I can't pronounce sounds correctly." The next step, immediately follow that thought with the word yet. Rework the sentence to reflect a growth mindset. For example, "I can't pronounce sounds correctly yet." You can even say this out loud to yourself. This simple act of writing it down and reframing it starts to rewire your brain. It turns a limiting belief into a goal. 2. Reframe failure as feedback. This is about changing your relationship with mistakes. Instead of seeing them as a reflection of your worth, see them as a compass pointing you in the right direction. Actionable step: after every mistake you make in English, whether it's in a conversation, a writing assignment, or a pronunciation exercise, ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. What happened? Describe the mistake objectively. For example, I used for instead of since. What can I learn from this? Identify the specific rule or concept you need to practice. For example, I need to review the difference between for and since. 3. What will I do differently next time? Formulate a clear action plan. For example, next time I write a sentence with a duration of time, I'll stop and think about which word to use. The power of this practice. This process takes the emotion out of the mistake. It turns a moment of self-criticism into a productive learning experience. It trains you to be a problem solver instead of a self-critic. 3. Focus on effort. Over talent. It's easy to look at someone who is fluent and think they're a natural. But what you don't see is the hours of practice, the failed tests, the embarrassing conversations, and the dedicated effort they put in. Actionable step: keep a small journal to track your effort. Every day, write down what you did to improve your English. It could be something as small as practice 10 new vocabulary words, or listen to a podcast for 15 minutes. Don't just focus on the outcome of your study session, but the effort you put in. The next step: when you feel discouraged, look back at this journal. You'll see a concrete record of your hard work. This visual proof of your effort will remind you that you are making progress, even on the days when it doesn't feel like it. Celebrate the effort, because effort is what truly builds skills. 4. Embrace challenges and step outside. Your comfort zone growth happens when we leave the familiar. A growth mindset seeks out challenges because they are the most effective way to learn. Actionable step. Identify one small challenge you can take on this week. It should be something that makes you a little nervous but isn't overwhelming. For example, try to order your coffee in English. Start a conversation with a tourist. Read a news article in English. Even if you only understand 70% of it, write a short email to an English-speaking colleague the next step when you've completed your challenge. Reflect on it. What went well? What was difficult? What did you learn? Again, the focus is on the learning process, not just the outcome. Each small challenge you conquer builds your confidence and reinforces your belief in your ability to grow. 5. Find your growth mindset community. You don't have to do this alone. Surrounding yourself with people who believe in your potential can make a huge difference. Actionable step. Actively seek out people with a growth mindset. This could be a language partner who is also serious about improving, a teacher who encourages you, or even an online community. Spend time with people who celebrate effort and resilience, not just natural talent. The next step, when you're in a group, setting, practice giving, and receiving constructive feedback. A growth mindset views feedback as a gift, not a judgment. Say things like, "Could you please let me know if I'm pronouncing this word correctly?" Or "I'd love to hear your thoughts on my essay."
How to talk about personal development in English. An expanded guide to truly make this a podcast for listening practice. Let's add even more phrases and conversational contexts. I'll give you different scenarios where these phrases would be useful, so you can imagine yourself using them. Scenario 1. You're talking about a new goal you've set. I've recently decided to take up a new challenge, mastering English pronunciation. My main goal for the next 3 months is to get better at public speaking in English. I'm trying to develop a habit of reading one English news article every day. I'm committed to improving my English, so I'm trying new strategies. Scenario 2. You're discussing a challenge or a setback. I've been feeling a bit stuck with my grammar, but I'm trying to push through it. I had a tough conversation today where I didn't understand everything, but I'm trying to see it as a learning experience. I'm not perfect at it yet, but I'm working on my fluency. It's been challenging, but I'm not going to give up. I know I'll get there eventually. Scenario 3. You're giving encouragement or praising someone's effort. I love your positive attitude toward learning. That was a great effort. See how much you've been practicing. So inspiring to see how you bounce back from setbacks. You have a real drive to improve, and it's paying off. I admire your resilience. Scenario 4. You're asking for or talking about feedback. I'm always looking for ways to improve. I would really appreciate your feedback on my writing. See? Feedback as a roadmap for growth. I'm not afraid of constructive criticism because I know it helps me identify my blind spots. I'm trying to be more open to feedback, even when it's difficult to hear. Scenario 5. You're talking about the power of a growth mindset in general. Oh, I truly believe that our mindset is the biggest factor in our success. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the person most willing to learn. A growth mindset is like a superpower you can train. It allows you to see yourself not as a fixed product, but as a work in progress. Remember, the goal is to integrate these concepts into your thoughts and your conversations. The more you use this language, the more you will internalize these beliefs. Your vocabulary will grow, your confidence will grow, and most importantly, your potential will grow. This journey of building a growth mindset is a continuous one. It's not about reaching a perfect state where you never have a fixed mindset thought again. It's about being aware of those thoughts and choosing a different path. It's about being patient and kind with yourself and recognizing that every single day is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become a little bit better than you were yesterday. Remember, your brain is a beautiful, complex, and incredibly adaptable organ. It is capable of learning, growing, and changing, no matter your age or your starting point. The only thing standing between you and your potential is your own mindset. When you shift your mindset from fixed to growth, you stop seeing your abilities as a ceiling and start seeing them as a horizon that is always expanding. So, let's make a commitment today, together, to embrace this growth mindset. Let's make a commitment to see challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities. Let's promise ourselves that we will use the word yet more often. And let's celebrate every single step of progress, no matter how small, on our journey to fluency and personal growth. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly hope this episode has inspired you. Oh, I want to hear from you. What's one area in your life or in your English learning journey where you're going to try to adopt a growth mindset? Share your thoughts and your goals in the comments below. And if you found this conversation helpful, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Super English Talks for more content that helps you learn and grow. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep embracing the power of a growth mindset. Bye for now.